Hello there. In this video I'm going to show you how to make the most of the profit and loss facility with an FBA. It can be a very useful tool. You can get a lot of information, do a lot of data analysis with a few clicks of the mouse by using the filtering facility and by drilling down into different levels of the data. So we've got two types of P&L analysis windows on FBA. So we've got the first one, just the standard profit and loss. So this shows you gives you the monthly P&L, the year to date and the annual side by side, and then if there's a budget imported into FBA, then it'll show you the budget for the month and the projected by using a combination of the budget and actuals up to the current date. And then the second type is the kind of month by month throughout the year. So first of all, if we're going to look into drill down and look into our P&L, we need to make sure that the date is covering the right period. So by clicking on the sad face down here. So because our last entry is 24th of October 18, that's our most up-to-date data. That'll give us a happy face, but because the year to March 18 is the most the end of the last full year on this data set, we can leave it on 31st of March 18. Yeah, so basically it's very easy to do the drilling down, and so first of all we've got the headlines of your P&L, so the sales, valuation change, etc. And then by drilling down, we can drill down to the different levels. So these are our purchase heading codes. And then by clicking on that one, for instance, there are our livestock sundry heading codes. And then lastly, if we drill down, click the button there, it'll list everything that we have allocated to that heading code, in this case sundries livestock. So close out of that, and then by clicking these buttons on the left hand side here, it takes us back up a level and then right up to the top if need be. So it makes it very easy to get a kind of a quickly access information. And another thing it's very useful for is by using the filters, we can analyze by enterprise if required. So if we click on select, if we select our dairy cow enterprise, so we're in dairy cow 17 because we're in the 17-18 year. So that'll give us a P&L, which is effectively a gross margin for our dairy cow enterprise. So if we want to say, for instance, we need to find out how much we've spent, how much dairy cake we've bought for our cows in that year, then we'll drill down into purchases, purchase feed compound, and that'll give us a list of all the dairy cake we've bought that year. So as well as doing your data analysis, the P&L facility, it's very useful for checking your data to make sure that things are allocated to the right years, enterprises, and that your variable costs are all allocated to an enterprise and that your overheads are all allocated to the general enterprise. So say for instance that we wanted to check that everything, all our data is allocated to the correct year and no previous or future years enterprises. So we click the bottommost enterprise on the list, hold the shift button, move to the top one, so we've got them all selected, then hold the control button down, and then as you've got the control button held down, take away your 2017 enterprises. So there we go. We see we've got some items allocated to the wrong year. So the internal transfers out. That should be okay. Probably last year's straw being transferred out to this year's livestock enterprises. Close. So the valuation change will be the last year's forage crops and crops coming out of store. So we see here that all the silage from the previous year has been allocated out. So we actually haven't got anything in purchases, so which is good. So we know that everything's allocated to the right year. Then if we want to check that everything allocated to general is it is correct. So anything allocated to general should be in store if it's in the purchases. So we'll check chemicals, for instance, here. So this one here, you will see it's allocated to store. We check feed as an example, feed compound. Just check that things have been put in store. You can scroll across and see that if there's something in the stock name column there, then that means it's been allocated to store, so it's okay. So if it wasn't allocated to store, if it's just allocated to general without being allocated to a store, then here again everything's allocated to store, so, which is fine. Then lastly, to make sure that we haven't got any any overheads allocated to an enterprise, do the same again. So click on the bottom most enterprise, in this case Young Stock 13, click on shift, scroll to the top, click on shift and then OK. So we'll see there's nothing allocated to any overhead heading codes, which is as it should be. So then by clicking on whole business here, we go back to the start, to the main screen covering the whole business. So there we are. Hope you enjoyed watching.